Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Izuna Entertainment. And it is October, and as everybody knows, October means Halloween. So we are working today on our Halloween game, and it is an old PlayStation classic called MediEvil. There's a good chance that a lot of you probably don't know this game very well because it came out in 1998. That's almost 20 years ago now. However, it did have a kind of slight revival off in 2005 whenever they had a reimagining of this game called MediEvil Resurrection for the PSP. And that is our hero, Sir Daniel Fortesque. Um, if he looks kind of familiar, you might have played this game before, or you might have played the PSP version of it. But there's also a chance that you saw him off in another place, and that would be, well, you remember a couple of years ago, whenever PlayStation made its own Smash Brothers clone? Yeah, he was in that game, and along with Fat Princess and oh goodness, a couple of other people who, Sackboy, just some bigger names that they had for PlayStation and PlayStation exclusive titles. Anyway, our game's a little backstory on the game. Basically, what it was that a long time ago, off in Galamir, this big nasty Zarok dude tried to take over things. Sir Daniel Fortesque led the charge against him, and he died very early in the battle, getting shot off in the eye. Now Zarok has returned. He wants to resurrect an army of the dead, take over the place again, and somehow his necromantic magic ended up awakening Sir Daniel Fortesque as well. So he has a second chance to become the hero that Galamir was led to believe that he was. So Dan's Crypt is actually just a very introductory level. We're going to breeze through some of these levels, and we're going to have a hard time at others. This is one of my personal favorite games, and if you have half a chance to play it, I highly recommend it. I do know that it is on the PlayStation Network, and it's normally only about $6. So it is worth the $6. Because it is one of my all-time favorite games, and I really hope that y'all are going to enjoy watching us play through it. Now that I think about it, another place that you might have seen it was that a couple of years back, off in the Skyrim modding community, they actually made a MediEvil mod for Skyrim. And maybe if I can get my hands on it, and it's still looking really good, maybe we'll upload that for Halloween as well, and that would be a lot of fun to see. But we've got a lot of game to go through, and only 1 month of Halloween right now. So what I'm going to try to do is make these episodes a little longer, and see if I can upload a little bit more. Things have been a little bit up and down around here. I apologize for not having things out last week. I was sick, and there was a lot going on. But we're back, and we're going to have a lot of fun with this game. I never had the manual for this game, so I don't know some of these creatures' names, but I know that some of them are zombies. It's very hard to tell. As you can tell, the graphics are way dated as far as character models go, but it's still enough that you can get a basic idea. There's ghouls and ghasts and zombies, the little severed hands that run around. But it's a fairly straightforward hack and slash game with some platforming elements. And a lot of puzzles, and it's got a smaller inventory, and it doesn't have you could compare it to a Zelda game, maybe even Ocarina of Time. as far as mechanics go, whenever it comes to depth of story or characters, or it pales in comparison. But what game doesn't really? So I'm not saying that it's a bad game. I'm just saying that Ocarina of Time was very strong off in its story and characters and whatnot. This is an interesting. It's a little hard to tell, but I guess it's an angel, and wherever the angel is facing, it will open up a path for you. I do got to give the game credit. Its backgrounds and its scenery they're really cohesive. They're really good together. It has a great gothic feel, and I only found out earlier today that this the soundtrack, and I don't know how well you can hear it. The soundtrack actually has a little bit of problems playing on the old software, but the soundtrack is not orchestrated like it sounds, which means that it was completely computer made, and that's actually pretty impressive for this time period. And, you know, back then, they didn't have a lot of orchestrated soundtracks. We were limited by the media that we were using. I mean, this game is probably about 600 megabytes in total, and you compare that to something today like Shadow of Mordor, I think, which is closer to 40 gigs. So, it just shows you whenever you've got that extra space, you can use it. I mean, that's why we had games like Final Fantasy VII, which was on 3 discs. Or, well, Final Fantasy IX was 4 disc. That chalice is the Hall of Heroes. I don't know if we'll get to the Hall of Heroes in every episode. Or for every level, but I am going to try, because the Hall of Heroes gives you very good bonuses. It's a nice little area of rest. It's also cool because that's where you get really your characterization for most of the characters off in this game. Oh, that little face back there is actually a merchant gargoyle. We're going to see what he has. And that's actually kind of ingenious. I love that some of the plot and the merchants, they're not people. You don't actually interact with a lot of people off in this game. But to have them be inanimate or animated stone gargoyles it's just fun. It's a really lighthearted game, but it deals with some heavier ideas. There's actually a level later on where you're dealing with the people who have been hypnotized by Zarok, and you cannot defeat them. Well, you can choose to kill them all that you want, but if you kill them, it affects your chalice's percentage of being filled, which means that if you kill the people, there's no way that you can go to the Hall of Heroes, and you want to go to the Hall of Heroes because you want some of that awesome weaponry. By the way, these green bubbly things are energy springs. If you stand off in them, they will restore your health. And if you have an empty bottle, part of your life bottle, you can stand there and it will refill that too. But there is a limit. If you go over that limit, the green thing disappears and does not come back unless you restart the level. This is our first trip to the Hall of Heroes. And it's basically where all the other heroes of Galamir, it's like Valhalla. That's what it is. It's Valhalla. And there's 2 levels to it. We can't go to the second level yet because the stairs are transparent. They're not solid. Once they're solid, we can go through them and look up at the top, and it's really the top that has some of the best weapons. But first we got to talk to Canny Tim over here. And some of these voices for them are just kind of funny, and um, you know, it's just this is where the character is. This is where you get to see the interaction between these people, and you get to see that, in spite of being dead, Dan still has a bit of an attitude, and it's funny and refreshing because if this game didn't have like these parts, it would be dull. And um, yeah, just dull. I can't really think of a better word than that. And now we have the crossbow. The crossbow actually fires really, really rapidly, and it can shoot around corners. But I don't use it a lot, except for um, versus the stained glass monster. There's a couple of bosses that it's kind of good about against, and if you need to hit something that moves really fast. But other than that, it is actually one of the weakest weapons in the game. The only one that's actually weaker is probably the dagger, and we got the dagger, but the dagger actually has a charge ability. I'm not 100% sure. Dan's arm, if you have no weapons at all, Dan's arm might actually be the weakest weapon. This is our first kind of challenging level. I wouldn't call it that challenging at all. If you've learned how to block with your shield, you can get through this level just fine. But it has a very important item that we're going to use at least twice, maybe 3 times. Off in it, the Witch's Talisman. We'll get to it here and off in a bit after Zarek gets done with his expositioning. So, I don't know what it is with villains and monologuing. It's such a trope that's ingrained into things these days that we're so used to saying it. If there is one thing I can say that I really dislike about this game, it is the camera. The camera controls for shit. And it can make it really hard and disorienting at times. That treasure chest has a bomb inside, and we gotta be careful with it. It will destroy everything, but it can hurt us a little. If we're too close to it, it will hurt us. Otherwise, it will just push us around like it did. So, I think that those guys are actually zombies. But we'll fight some other things too. Anything from zombies to werewolves to insane asylum inmates, which is just kind of weird. But, you know, at Halloween it's kind of hard to pick a game, but this game hits on the gothic genre really well. It hits on the spooky, scary-ish genre very well. And there are some people who won't... I'm sure there are some people who won't enjoy it, but like I said, it's actually one of my favorite games. The first time that I started playing it was actually off of a demo disc from Pizza Hut, because back off in the day, Pizza Hut gave out these demo discs. This is a club. As you can see, it's got a % bar. And if you use that club too much, it can go down to 0% and it will eventually break. It's fairly strong. We'll get something to replace it off in a couple of levels. But for now, it's good. And the thing that makes it better than the item that we'll get later is that it can be set on fire. And there are at least one, maybe a couple more quests that are interesting that use fire to solve a puzzle. So, but yeah, I don't know if anybody actually remembers this, but like back off in the day, Pizza Hut actually had a joint thing with PlayStation, probably whenever it first came out, maybe a little later, and they had a couple of discs that came out at different times, and one of them had MediEvil on it, and it had a demo for Tomb Raider on it, and it actually had like 20 small game demos, and they were fully fleshed out because You could play about 20 minutes into the game, and that was really impressive. If you were fast, you could get pretty far off in there. To the point where some demos you could actually beat because there was just no more content that you could go to. Okay, these controls are a little wonky. Oh yeah, that's what we're doing. We're getting, right now we are getting the Witch's Talisman. And the Witch's Talisman is going to be useful because there is a quest that we get from a witch later, which gives us, actually, the drumstick, which is one of the weirdest weapons off in this game. The drumstick actually turns an enemy into a fried chicken. And then you can eat that fried chicken to restore your health. It has a very limited number of uses. I believe it's 20 of them. And once you use them all, you cannot get it again, to my knowledge. And then... I cannot light that there. And then the other one we give to the Pumpkin Witch. And we use that to get, come on, catch on fire. Why won't you catch on fire? Come on, catch on fire. You have to get this aimed exactly right, and it doesn't always work that well. So, we need this club to catch on fire so we can light the fire in the other room. Come on, catch on fire, catch on fire. God damn it. Aha, finally. Finally. Anyway, the other one we'll give to a Pumpkin Witch to get a Dragon Gem. And I don't remember what the Dragon Gem does. So, okay. These headless guys are actually called Gnolls, if I remember. And trust me, after years of playing D&D, these don't look like no Gnolls that I know. Man, that's a tongue twister. Because most Gnolls are little, bipedal, however you want to pronounce it. Like hyenas that are really savage. So. But it's just like Valkyrie Profile and they're, kobolds. Often Valkyrie Profile, kobolds are weird little fuzzy raccoon-looking dogs. While often D&D and most other things that I've noticed, kobolds are little lizard dragon people. So, anybody remember Neverwinter Nights? That had a kobold companion that you could have. His name was Deacon. And, I don't know, just something about that. This is actually kind of a hard place to run up, but it's not too bad, especially if you have a shield. If you have a shield, you can block most of these rots, and that makes it a lot easier. I mean, a lot easier. Unless you happen to lose your shield, but even that's not too bad, because I believe that they give you 3 other ones to replace them. I never understood why these gargoyles just wanted to randomly explode themselves. I mean, were just brought to life. Were they really that loyal to Zarok? I don't get it. But I guess you gotta create some sort of tension somehow. Oh, better fill up the rest of that bottle. So I guess that's just how it goes then. Alright. Hall of Heroes number 2. I think we're talking to Canny Tim again. You don't always get a new weapon. Sometimes they will give you other things. And sometimes... But every time that you go there, you will get something, whether it's an extra life bottle, whether it's a whole bunch of gold, or a new weapon, or a new shield, even though there's only one new shield. Because really, I could be wrong. There could be 2. I cannot honestly remember. It has been quite a while. So, yeah, it doesn't look like anybody else is open. So that statue over there, that's ethereal. That's us, by the way. And once we become a true hero, it will become solid. Okay, so Kenny Tim's got his words to say, and that's not too bad. We've actually made a lot of progress off in this episode, and that's a life bottle, so that's basically an extra life, so that's really nice. Anyway, it's getting just about time to end this episode, so thank you all so much for being with me today. Thank you all for sticking with me, and it is great to have everything here. It is great to be back, and I really hope that y'all are going to enjoy our Halloween specials. So remember to hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. If you feel like it, leave me a comment, and I will see y'all later.